This homeless boy's action changed this millionaire's life forever. Michael Thompson tried to move, but the ropes tying him to that dried-up tree seemed to tighten with every motion. The scorching desert sun of Arizona beat down mercilessly on his sweaty face, and thirst was already torturing his throat. How had he ended up there? It all felt like a nightmare. That's when he heard footsteps approaching over the hot sand. He lifted his eyes and saw a small figure walking toward him. It was a boy, no older than 10, wearing tattered clothes covered in dirt. In his small hands, he carried a dented metal cup. "Sir, are you okay?" the boy asked, stopping a few feet away. Michael tried to answer, but his voice came out hoarse and weak. The boy stepped closer, examining the ropes that bound him to the tree. "My name's Tyler. I saw when they brought you here last night. I was hiding behind those rocks over there," he said, pointing toward a rocky formation in the distance. "Help me," Michael managed to whisper, his voice barely audible. Tyler glanced around carefully, as if checking no one was nearby. Then he brought the cup to Michael's lips. "It's water, not very clean, but it's all I have." The lukewarm liquid trickled down Michael's throat like the nectar of the gods. How long had it been since he'd had water? His memories of the day before were hazy, fragmented. Who did this to me?" he asked, breathing heavily. "3 men. They came in a black car, said you were going to stay here till you learned a lesson," Tyler explained, sitting in the sand beside Michael. Memories slowly returned. The meeting in his office, the heated argument, the threats. But why exactly was he here? "Do you live nearby?" Michael asked, trying to make sense of his surroundings. "I stay over there." Tyler pointed to a small mud brick structure about 200 yards away. "I mean, that's where I stay. It's not really a house." Michael studied the boy more closely. His brown hair was messy and dirty, his skin tanned by the southwest sun. The clothes he wore looked like they'd once been too big for him, but now hung loosely on his thin frame. "Do your parents know you're out here?" Tyler lowered his eyes, nervously playing with the sand. "I don't have parents. I've been on my own for about 2 years." "On your own? What do you mean?" "My mom left when I was 8. She got real sick and couldn't take care of me anymore." "Never knew my dad," Tyler explained with a heartbreaking matter-of-factness. The businessman felt a pang in his chest. Here he was, a man worth millions, tied to a tree, being helped by a child who had nothing. "How do you manage alone?" "I do odd jobs in town, carry people's groceries, wash cars, stuff like that. Miss Susan at the grocery store sometimes gives me food that's about to expire, and there's a well nearby where I get water." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now back to the story. Michael struggled to process this. A 10-year-old boy living alone in the desert, surviving on odd jobs and the kindness of strangers. Meanwhile, he complained when his housekeeper forgot to serve his coffee at the perfect temperature. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." Tyler looked straight into Michael's eyes, and the businessman saw a maturity no child should possess. Because when someone's in need, any help counts. And you're in real bad need. "Listen, Tyler, if you untie me, I'll give you a lot of money. More money than you've ever seen." The boy shook his head. "Can't do that, sir. They said if anyone let you out before the right time, bad things would happen to me." "What right time?" "I don't know. They just said they'd be back." Michael felt despair tighten his chest. Who had done this to him and why? His memories were still hazy, but he was starting to recall details from the night before. He had been in his office on the 30th floor of a commercial building in downtown Phoenix. An unexpected visit had interrupted him, 3 men claiming to represent families who had lost their homes because of one of his developments. The memory grew clearer, the Crystal Waters complex. He had bought a plot of land where about 40 families had lived for over 30 years. They were all simple, hard-working people who had built their homes with their own sweat. But the land wasn't properly documented, and Michael had acquired it for a ridiculously low price. "Sir, are you okay? You look kinda strange," said Tyler, offering more water. "I'm remembering some things," Michael murmured. "Bad things? Maybe." Michael drank more water and closed his eyes, trying to sort through his memories. After buying the land, he had filed for eviction. The families had tried to resist, hiring lawyers, but they didn't have the resources to fight a legal battle against a millionaire businessman. Within 6 months, all the homes were demolished, 40 families displaced, men, women, children, and elderly who lost everything they had built over decades. "Did you do something really bad?" Tyler asked, as if reading his thoughts. Michael opened his eyes and looked at the boy. How could he explain the complexity of the business world to a 10-year-old? How could he justify that sometimes difficult decisions had to be made to succeed? "It's complicated, Tyler. In the adult world, sometimes we have to do things we don't want to, like lying. Sometimes, like hurting people." Michael hesitated before answering. "Sometimes, yes." Tyler was quiet for a few seconds, playing with the sand. "My mom always said hurting other people only brings sadness to us too." "Your mom was a wise woman." "Yes, she was. She took care of everyone in our village. If someone got sick, she'd go help. If someone didn't have food, she'd share ours." "And where is this village?" "Near here, or it used to be. It's gone now." "What do you mean, gone?" Tyler stood and pointed toward the horizon, where Michael could see concrete structures in the distance. "Right there, where those nice buildings are, that was our home." Michael's heart stopped for a second. The structures Tyler was pointing at were the first buildings of Crystal Waters, his latest real estate project. You lived there?" "Yeah, our house was right where that tallest building is now. My mum planted flowers out front. There was a mango tree that grew the sweetest fruit in the world." Michael felt like he'd been punched in the gut. The boy standing there, caring for him, offering water and company, was one of the victims of his greed. "Tyler, how did you leave there?" "I don't really remember. I was little. I just know some men in suits came with papers. My mom cried a lot. So did the neighbors. Then the machines came and knocked everything down." "And where did you go?" "First we stayed with my aunt in the city, but she didn't have room for us. Then we went to a place they called the camp, just tents. It was really hot during the day and freezing at night." Michael closed his eyes again. He vaguely remembered hearing about a camp set up by the displaced families. At the time, he had told his lawyers not to get involved. "Not our problem," he had said. "Was it at the camp where your mother got sick?" "Yes, it was. She started coughing a lot. Then she got very weak. The others said she had a sickness in her chest. Did she get any treatment?" "They tried to take her to the hospital, but it was too far, and it cost too much money, too. She kept getting weaker and weaker, until one day she didn't wake up anymore." Tyler's words were spoken with painful simplicity. An 8-year-old boy who lost his mother because she couldn't get proper medical care, and all because of Michael's greed. "I'm so sorry, Tyler." "You don't have to be sorry, sir. The lady at the camp said my mother went to heaven, where she doesn't feel pain anymore." "And after she passed, what happened to you?" "I stayed with the other families at the camp for a while, but then everyone went their own way. Some went to other states, others went back to relatives' homes. I didn't have anyone left, so I just kept walking." "Walking?" "Yeah, I walked along the road, slept wherever I could, ate what I could find, until I got here. Miss Susan saw me starving and gave me a plate of food. Then I told her I could work for her in exchange for meals. And she agreed? Yes, she did. She's really kind. Said I could stay in that little house over there until I grew up and could take care of myself." Michael looked again at the small mud brick structure. It was barely more than a shelter, with an old wooden door and a window without glass. It probably didn't have running water or electricity. "Tyler, can I ask you something?" "Sure, sir." "Why don't you hate me?" The boy seemed genuinely confused by the question. "Why would I hate you, sir? Because—" Michael hesitated. How could he explain? "Because I was the reason you lost your home." Tyler tilted his head as if trying to understand. "What do you mean, sir? I bought the land where you lived. I had the houses torn down." The boy fell silent for a long time, processing that information. Michael expected to see anger, resentment, maybe even for Tyler to walk away and leave him there to suffer from thirst. But when Tyler spoke again, his voice remained calm and gentle. "Did you know we lived there, sir?" "Yes." "And did you know we had nowhere else to go?" "Yes." "And you still did it?" "Yes." Tyler nodded slowly, as if putting his thoughts in order. Then you must be hurting a lot inside. What? My mother always said that when we do bad things, even if no one sees, our heart knows. And then we suffer inside, even when we're smiling on the outside. Michael felt his eyes fill with tears. In all his life, no one had ever answered his cruelty with such compassion. You're not angry with me. I'm sad for you, sir. It must be really hard to carry something like that in your heart. Tears began rolling down Michael's face. Here was a child who had lost everything because of his greed, offering him not just water, but forgiveness and understanding. Tyler, I'm so sorry. Truly sorry for what I did to you and your family. I know you are, sir. That's why you're tied up here. What do you mean? The men who brought you here, they were families who lost their homes too. They said you needed to understand what it's like to have nowhere to go. Michael finally understood the situation. This wasn't an ordinary kidnapping. It was a lesson, a desperate attempt to make him feel, even if just for a few days, the helplessness he had caused for dozens of families. Are they going to hurt me? I don't know, sir. They just said they'd be back. The sun was beginning to set, painting the desert sky in shades of orange and pink. The temperature had dropped a little, but Michael knew the desert night would be cold. Tyler, you need to leave. When they come back, I don't want you to get into trouble because of me. I won't leave you alone, sir. Please, Tyler. You've already helped me so much. I don't want you to get hurt on my account. Are you scared? Michael hesitated. Yes, he was scared. Scared of what might happen when those men returned. Scared he'd never see his family again. Scared his greed would finally demand a price. He wasn't ready to pay. Yes, I am. My mom always said when you're scared, it's good to have someone by your side. But it's dangerous for you to stay here. Sir, I've been through plenty of dangerous things. I've slept on the street, not sure if I'd wake up the next day. Gone days without eating. Been beaten by bad folks who didn't like seeing a kid begging for food. Tyler's words struck Michael like arrows. Every hardship that boy had faced was a consequence, direct or indirect, of his own actions. Tyler, if I make it out of here alive, I promise I'll try to make things right. How do you mean, sir? I'll give homes to all the families who lost theirs. I'll help the people who've suffered because of me. Tyler smiled for the first time since he'd arrived. That'd be real good, sir. And you, Tyler. You'll have a real home too. You'll go to school, have new clothes, food every day. You don't have to do that for me. Yes, I do, because you've shown me something I'd forgotten. What's that, sir? How to be human. Night fell quickly, as it always does in the desert. Stars appeared in the dark sky, creating a spectacle Michael rarely stopped to admire in his busy city life. Tyler had gone to his little shack and returned with an old blanket, which he draped over Michael's shoulders. Gonna be cold tonight, the boy said. What about you? Won't you be cold? Yeah, but I'm used to it. Tyler settled beside Michael, leaning his back against the tree. The two sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the stars. Sir, can I ask you something? Of course, Tyler. Why did you want that land where we lived so bad? Michael sighed. How do you explain the twisted logic of real estate to a child? It was a good place to build, close to the city but still quiet. I knew lots of people would want to live there. But we already lived there. Yeah, but... Michael stopped. How do you justify the unjustifiable? In business, Tyler, sometimes you have to think only about profit. Even when it hurts people. I used to think so. And now I know. I was wrong. Tyler was quiet for a moment, then asked, You got kids, sir? Yeah, a daughter. How old is she? 15. What's she like? Michael smiled for the first time in a long while, thinking of Madison. She's beautiful, smart, goes to a real good private school, has everything she wants. She know what you did at work? Not really. Just knows I make a lot of money. What about your wife? Jennifer doesn't much care how I make money. She just likes spending it, Michael said, a slight bitterness in his tone. You think they'd like knowing how you got that money? Tyler's question cut deep. Madison was sensitive, always upset about injustice. At school, she helped with drives for needy families. How would she react if she knew her tuition and luxuries came from other families suffering? I don't think they'd like it, no. Then maybe it's better if you change, huh? Maybe so. The night grew colder, and Michael could feel Tyler shivering beside him. Tyler, go home. You'll get sick out here. I don't want to leave you alone. I'll be fine, promise. You sure? Yeah, I am. Tyler got up reluctantly, but before leaving he said, Sir, I'll be back early tomorrow. I'll bring more water and something for you to eat. Tyler, wait. Yes, sir? What's your full name? Tyler Johnson Davis. Tyler. Johnson Davis, you're the best person I've ever met in my life. The boy smiled shyly and ran toward his little house. Michael was left alone, wrapped in the blanket that smelled of dampness and poverty, but had been offered with more love than any expensive gift he'd ever received. During the night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Tyler, about his mother who had passed away from lack of medical care, about all the families he'd evicted over the years. How many stories like Tyler's had he created? How many children were now living on the streets because of his greed? When the sun rose, Tyler was already there, sitting beside him with a mug of water and a piece of bread. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Tyler. Did you sleep well? I did, and you? Not much, I was thinking. Thinking about what? About how I can fix the wrong things I've done. Tyler handed the water and bread to Michael. Miss Susan sent this bread. She said she couldn't let anyone go hungry, even without knowing me. Miss Susan always says you never know when you'll need someone's help. Michael ate the bread slowly. It was simple, probably made with cheap ingredients, but it tasted of generosity. Tyler, tell me more about the other families who lived on the land. What do you want to know, sir? Everything. How they lived, what they did, where. They went afterward. Tyler settled in and began to tell the stories. There was Mr. Roberts' family, who raised chickens and sold eggs in town. Mrs. Betty, who made the best sweets in the area. The elderly couple, Mr. Frank and Mrs. Margaret, who had built their home brick by brick over 50 years of marriage. Mr. Frank had a workshop where he fixed bicycles. Every kid in the area brought their broken bikes to him. He never charged families who didn't have money. And where did he go after the eviction? I'm not sure. I heard he and Mrs. Margaret went to live with a son in another state. But Mr. Frank was really sad about leaving the workshop. He said it was his whole life. Every story Tyler told felt like a knife to Michael's heart. It wasn't just houses he'd destroyed. It was entire lives, generations of stories, dreams, built over decades. What about Ashley's family? Remember her? I do. Ashley was my age. We used to play together. Her mom took in laundry to make money. What happened to them? They went to the camp too, but later I heard Ashley's mom got sick, like mine. I don't know if she got better. Michael closed his eyes, trying not to imagine how many other mothers might have fallen ill living in the harsh conditions of the camp. Tyler, do you know where these people are now? Some of them, I do. Miss Susan sometimes has news. Why do you want to know, sir? Because I need to find these people. I need to ask for forgiveness and try to help. Even if they don't want to forgive you. Even then. Tyler smiled and was about to answer when they heard the sound of an engine approaching. It was an old pickup truck kicking up dust on the dirt road. They're back, Tyler said, fear in his voice. Tyler, get out of here. Go home and stay there until they leave. But sir, go Tyler, please. The boy hesitated, but when he saw 3 men stepping out of the truck, he ran toward his little house. The men approached Michael. He recognized one of them from the pictures he'd seen in the newspapers during the evictions. It was Raymond, who had been a kind of leader for the displaced families. So, Mr. Michael, how was the night? Asked Raymond, with irony in his voice. Instructive, answered Michael, surprising the 3 men with his calm reply. Instructive? Repeated another man, whom Michael didn't recognize. Yes, I learned a lot about the consequences of my actions. Raymond studied Michael's face, searching for signs of sarcasm or deceit. And what exactly did you learn? I learned that my greed destroyed the lives of entire families. I learned that there are people in this world, like that boy who gave me water yesterday, who have more humanity in their little finger than I have in my entire body. The 3 men exchanged glances, surprised by his answer. Where is that boy? asked the third man. I sent him away. I don't want him getting into trouble because of me. Funny, said Raymond. You worry about a boy you barely know, but you didn't worry about 40 families who had lived for decades on the land you wanted. You're right, and I hate myself for it. You hate yourself? Raymond seemed surprised. Yes. I spent the whole night thinking about what I did, about the suffering I caused, about the selfishness that consumed me all these years. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, the second man, who seemed more agitated, spoke. Pretty words, Mr. Thompson, but words won't give us back our dignity. You're right. Words aren't enough. That's why I want to make a proposal. What proposal? Asked Raymond, skeptical. I want to build houses for all the families who were evicted. Real houses with proper paperwork, running water, electricity. I also want to set up a fund to help families struggling because of what I did. The three men laughed bitterly. You think we're naive? Said the third man. You'll say anything to get out of this mess. I understand your distrust. If I were you, I wouldn't believe me either. Then why should we believe you? Asked Raymond. Because I spent the worst night of my life thinking about the consequences of my actions. And because that boy showed me there's still goodness in this world even after everything I've done. Raymond glanced toward the little house where Tyler had hidden. That boy, whose son is he? Hope's. Do you remember Hope? Said Michael. Hope. Raymond's expression changed completely. The Hope who passed in the camp? Yes. Tyler is Hope's son? Asked the second man, his voice choked. Yes. He told me the whole story. How she got sick in the camp. How she passed. Because she didn't have proper medical care. The three men fell silent. It was clear they knew Hope and cared about her. Hope was one of the hardest working women in our community, said Raymond, his voice heavy with sadness. She helped everyone. If someone was sick, she'd take care of them. If someone needed food, she'd share what she had. Tyler inherited that kindness from his mother, said Michael. He took care of me all night, even knowing I was responsible for his family's situation. And where is he living now? Asked the third man. Alone in that little house over there. He survives by doing odd jobs in town. A 10-year-old boy living alone? Raymond sounded outraged. Yes, and with a maturity that should shame any adult, Raymond untied the ropes binding Michael to the tree. You're free. Michael rubbed his wrists where the ropes had left red marks. Why are you letting me go? Because if Hope's son could forgive you, maybe we should give you a chance. Too? I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for the chance to try and fix what I did. And how do you plan to do that? First, I want to make sure Tyler has a decent life. Education, housing, healthcare, everything a child should have. And after that? Then I want to find all the families who were evicted and help them in any way I can. Raymond looked at the other two men, who nodded. All right, we'll give you a chance, but if this is just empty talk... It's not empty talk, you have my word. At that moment, Tyler came running from the small house, worried, when he saw Michael being let go. Sir, are you okay? I'm fine, Tyler, thanks to you. Thanks to me? You taught me I can still be a better person. Raymond stepped closer to Tyler. Tyler, are you Hope's son? Yes, sir. Did you know my mom? I did. Your mother was a very special woman. She really was, Tyler said, pride in his voice. Tyler, Michael said, these men are people who lived in the same place as you and your mother before you were evicted. Oh, so you're my neighbors, Tyler said, smiling. The boy's innocence and joy stood in painful contrast to the gravity of the situation. To him, meeting people who knew his mother was a reason for happiness, not bitterness. Tyler, Mr. Thompson here wants to help you and other families who are struggling, Raymond said. Is that true, Mr. Thompson? It's true, Tyler. I want to start by making sure you have everything you need to grow up and study. But I don't want you to do this out of pity for me. It's not pity, Tyler. It's because you showed me how I should have been all these years. Tyler's eyes filled with tears. My mom always said bad things happen so we can learn good things. Your mother was very wise, Michael said, feeling his own eyes grow damp. So you're really going to help the other families? Tyler asked. Yes, can you help me find them? I can. Miss Susan knows where some people are, and Mr. Raymond here probably knows where others are. Raymond nodded. We do. Some families manage to settle elsewhere, but many are still struggling. Then let's start right now, Michael said. Now? The second man asked. Yes, every day I delay is another day these people suffer because of what I did. Tyler clapped his hands excitedly. So let's go. Can I come too? Of course, Tyler. You'll be my guide. The six of them got into Raymond's pickup truck and headed first to Miss Susan's grocery store. It was a simple building with exposed brick walls and a blue tarp shading the entrance from the sun. Miss Susan was a woman around 60, her gray hair tied in a bun, wearing a simple flower print dress. When she saw Tyler arrive with the men, she grew worried. Tyler, sweetheart, is everything all right? Yes, Miss Susan. Look, this is Mr. Thompson. He wants to help the families who lost their homes. Miss Susan looked Michael up and down, noticing his wrinkled, dirty suit. Help how? Miss Susan, Michael said, I'm the one responsible for evicting the families from the land where Tyler and his mother lived. I want to try to make things right. You're the owner of the Crystal Waters development? Yes, ma'am. Miss... Susan crossed her arms and studied Michael with a stern gaze. And why do you want to help now? Because Tyler showed me I can be a better person than I've been. Miss Susan looked at Tyler, who nodded eagerly. It's true, Miss Susan. Mr. Thompson spent the whole night tied to a tree thinking about what he did, and he promised to build new houses for everyone. Promised, huh? Miss Susan said, still skeptical. Promises are one thing, keeping them is another. You're right, said Michael. That's why I want to start by showing I mean business. Miss Susan, where should Tyler be studying? At the public school, but he doesn't have a uniform, school supplies, or his paperwork in order. Can we fix that today? Today? How? We'll go to town right now. We'll buy everything he needs and get his documents sorted. Miss Susan seemed surprised by Michael's urgency. And what about where he's living? She asked. We'll fix that too. Tyler deserves a real home. But Mr. Michael, Tyler said, I like my little house. Tyler, you deserve so much more than that little house. You deserve a place with a real bathroom, kitchen, and bedroom. But I won't be far from Miss Susan, right? No, Tyler. We can build a house right nearby. Miss Susan seemed to be weighing whether Michael was sincere or not. And the other families? You mentioned building houses for everyone. I will, but first I want to make sure Tyler is taken care of. Then we'll help the others. All right, said Miss Susan, but I'm coming with you. I want to see if you really mean what you say. Perfect. The more people keeping an eye on my actions, the better. The group headed to town in 2 cars. Raymond took the other 2 men, and Michael rented a car to take Tyler and Miss Susan. During the ride, Tyler was amazed by the rental car's interior. It was his first time in a vehicle with air conditioning and leather seats. Mr. Michael, is this your car? No, Tyler. I rented it for today. My car is in Phoenix. Is your car better than this one? It's different, more expensive. But now I understand that having expensive things doesn't make you happier. My mom always said that. She said happiness can't be bought. Your mom was right. Miss Susan, listening from the back seat, asked, Mr. Michael, do you have family? Yes, a wife and a daughter. Do they know where you are? Michael realized he hadn't even thought of that. Jennifer and Madison must be worried. After all, he'd been gone for 2 days. No, they don't. I need to call them. Don't you think you should let them know you're all right? I should. I'll call as soon as we get to town. When they reached downtown, their first stop was the education office to sort out Tyler's school paperwork. The clerk was initially resistant, saying it would require several documents and could take weeks. That's when Michael introduced himself. His name was known in the area because of his real estate ventures, and that opened every door. Within 2 hours, Tyler had all his school documents in order. Next, they went to a school supply store. Tyler was amazed by the variety of notebooks, pencils, and backpacks. Can I pick anyone? He asked, eyes shining. You can pick everything you want, said Michael. Tyler chose a blue backpack with superhero designs, a full pencil case with colored pencils, markers and crayons, notebooks with colorful covers, and all the books he'd need for the school year. I've never had so many nice things before, Tyler said, hugging his backpack. And you deserve even more, Michael replied. At the uniform store, Tyler tried on several shirts and pants until he found the perfect fit. They also bought new shoes, socks, and everything else he needed. "Now you're ready for school," Miss Susan said, moved to see Tyler so happy. "Thank you, Mr. Michael. Really, thank you." "No need to thank me, Tyler. It's the least I can do." As they left the store, Michael called Jennifer. "Michael, where are you? I've been frantic." His wife's voice sounded hysterical. "Calm down, Jennifer. I'm fine. I just had to take care of some important things." "What things? You disappeared 2 days ago. I was about to call the police." "Don't call anyone. I'm handling some work-related matters." "What matters, Michael? You're worrying me. I'll explain everything when I get back. How's Madison?" "She's worried too. She asked where you were. Tell her Daddy's learning to be a better person." "What do you mean, Michael? You're talking strange." "Jennifer, I love you both. I never forget that. When I get back, we'll have a very important talk." "When are you coming back?" "I don't know yet. There are some important things I need to take care of here first." "Here where? Where are you?" "Out in the country. I'll call you again tomorrow." Michael hung up the phone, ignoring Jennifer's protests. He knew he'd have a lot to explain when he got home, but first he needed to keep his promises. "Mr. Michael, should we go look for the other families now?" asked Tyler. "Yes, Mr. Raymond, where do we start?" "I know where Robert's family is. They're living in a neighborhood right here in town." They headed to an outlying neighborhood, where they found Mr. Robert's family living in a small, simple house, but at least it had running water and electricity. When Mr. Roberts saw Raymond arriving with Tyler and a man in a suit, he grew suspicious. "Raymond, who's this?" "It's Michael Thompson, Robert, the landowner." Mr. Roberts' face hardened immediately. "What's this man doing here?" "He wants to talk to you," said Raymond. "Talk about what?" "About how he ruined my life." "Mr. Robert," Michael said, stepping forward, "I came here to ask for forgiveness and offer help." "Forgiveness?" Mr. Robert let out a bitter laugh. "You think forgiveness fixes anything? It doesn't undo what's been done, but maybe it can help build something better for the future." "What future?" "I had a chicken farm that supported my family for 20 years. I lost everything. Now I work as a bricklayer's helper making minimum wage. That's why I'm here. I want to help you rebuild your farm." "How?" "By buying suitable land, building a modern coop, providing chickens and everything else you'll need." Mr. Robert looked at Raymond as if asking if this was real. "He's serious, Robert," said Raymond. "And why should I trust him?" "Because he spent the night tied to a tree thinking about the mistakes he made," Tyler chimed in. Mr. Robert looked at Tyler in surprise. "Tyler, is that you, boy? You've grown so much." "Hi, Mr. Robert. Remember me?" "Of course." "I do. You and my granddaughter used to play together all the time. Where's your mother?" Tyler lowered his eyes. "My mother passed 2 years ago, Mr. Robert." "Passed?" Mr. Robert's face filled with sorrow. "Hope is gone?" "She got sick at the camp and couldn't get treatment." Mr. Robert turned. To Michael, anger in his eyes. "You see what happened? Hope died because of what you did." "I know," Michael said, his voice choked. "And that's why I want to try to make things right." "Making things right won't bring Hope back." "No, it won't. But it might keep others from going through what she did." Mr. Robert fell silent for a few seconds, looking at Tyler. "And you, boy? Where are you living now?" "I live in a little house near Miss Susan's grocery store, but Mr. Michael's going to give me a new home." "Is that so?" "Yes. And he's going to give you and the other families new homes too." Mr. Robert sighed. "All right, I'll give you a chance, but if this is a lie—" "It's not a lie," Michael said. "I can show you some land options tomorrow for you to choose from." "Land for a chicken coop?" "Land for a coop. And a house. You'll have a complete property." "And what's this going to cost me?" "Nothing. It's my gift to you and your family." Mr. Robert shook his head, disbelieving. "In 50 years of life, I've never seen anything like this." "Neither have I," said Michael. "But sometimes life teaches us it's never too late for change." They spent the rest of the afternoon visiting other families. They met Mrs. Betty, who had lost her small candy business and now worked as a house cleaner. They also found the family of Ashley, whom Tyler had mentioned. Ashley's mother had recovered from her illness, but the family lived in poor conditions in a slum. Every story Michael heard felt like a stab to his heart. Lives destroyed, dreams shattered, families torn apart, all because of his greed. To each family, Michael made the same promise: a new home, help to rebuild their lives, and compensation for the harm he'd caused. By the end of the day, they were all exhausted, but Tyler was beaming. "Mr. Michael, are you really going to do everything you promised?" "Yes, Tyler, and you're going to help me make sure it's all done right." "I can really do that?" "Of course, you'll be my special consultant." Tyler didn't know what consultor meant, but he was proud of the title. When they returned to Miss Susan's house, it was already night. She had prepared a simple dinner: beans, rice, fried eggs, and flour. For Michael, used to expensive restaurants, it was one of the best meals of his life. "Miss Susan, can I ask you something?" said Michael during dinner. "Of course." "Why did you take care of Tyler? You didn't even know him when he arrived here." "Because no child should be left alone, and because Tyler is a special boy." "Special how? Haven't you noticed? Everywhere we went today, Tyler managed to cheer people up. Even those who were angry at you calmed down when they saw him." Michael looked at Tyler, who was focused on his plate. "It's true, I hadn't noticed that. Tyler has a gift for bringing people hope, just like his mother did." "Did you know Hope?" "Yes, I did. She used to come by the grocery store sometimes, always worried about others, always wanting to help." Tyler takes after her. "Miss Susan," said Tyler, "Mr. Michael is going to give me a new house, but I want it to be close to you." "Of course, my boy, where else would you live? And can you keep giving me advice?" "Always, Tyler, always." Michael realized he hadn't just found a family for Tyler, he'd found a grandmother. Miss Susan had adopted the boy without legal formalities, just with her heart. "Miss Susan, if you don't mind, I'd like to include you in the plans. Tyler will need a mother figure, and you're already filling that role." "What do you mean?" "I want to build a house for you too, right next to Tyler's, and I'd like to help with your grocery store if you'd like." "Help how?" "Expand it, improve it, modernize it, turn it into a thriving business." Miss Susan was silent for a few seconds. "Mr. Michael, you may have done bad things in the past, but today I saw you doing good. If you keep this up, you'll become a completely different person." "That's what I hope, Miss Susan." After dinner, Michael stayed at a simple inn in town. It was nothing like the luxury hotels he was used to, but he felt more comfortable there than in any presidential suite. That night, he lay awake planning everything he needed to do. First, he'd have to return to Phoenix and talk to Jennifer and Madison, explain everything that had happened, the changes he wanted to make in his life. Then he'd need to reorganize his business, liquidate some investments to fund the houses he'd promised, maybe even sell the Crystal Waters complex and use the money to help the families. The next morning, Michael woke up early and went to Miss Susan's house. Tyler was already awake, playing in the backyard with an old soccer ball. "Good morning, Tyler." "Good morning, Mr. Thompson. Are we going to see the lots today?" "Yes, we are. First yours, then the others." Raymond arrived shortly after, accompanied by a real estate agent who knew the area well. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson. I brought Samuel here to show you some lots." "Good morning, Mr. Samuel. I need suitable lots to build simple but comfortable houses." "I have some interesting options," said Samuel. "Shall we take a look?" They spent the morning visiting different lots. Tyler participated actively, giving his opinion on which locations were better. "This one is good because it's near the school," Tyler said about one lot. "And this other one is close to Miss Susan's grocery store," he observed about another. In the end, they chose 5 different lots, strategically located to meet the family's needs. "Mr. Samuel, how much would it cost to build simple but adequate houses on these lots?" "It depends on the size and finishes you want." "I want houses with 2 bedrooms, a living room, kitchen, bathroom, and laundry area. Simple finishes, but everything working perfectly." "In that case, about $200,000 per house, including the lot." "Perfect. I need 8 houses in total." Samuel did the math quickly. $1,600,000 then. "Done. When can we start construction?" "Next week, if you'd like." "I would. And I want it done quickly, but with quality." Tyler was beaming. Mr. Thompson, all the families will have new houses. Yes, Tyler. And you'll be the first. That afternoon, Michael returned to Phoenix to handle paperwork and talk to his family. The car ride gave him time to think about how he'd explain everything to Jennifer and Madison. When he arrived home, a luxurious mansion in an upscale Phoenix neighborhood, he felt like a stranger there. The expensive artwork, imported furniture, the unnecessarily large pool, all of it had been bought with money, tainted by others' suffering. "Michael!" Jennifer ran to hug him. "Where were you? I was desperate." "Hi, honey, I need to talk to you and Madison. It's very important." "Talk about what? Why did you disappear like that? Where's Madison?" "In her room, Madison. Your father's home." Madison rushed down the stairs. At 15, she was a beautiful girl with long brown hair and green eyes like her mother's. "Dad, where were you? We were worried." "Sit down, sweetheart." "Both of you. I need to tell you a story." Jennifer and Madison sat on the living room sofa looking at Michael expectantly. "Do you know what I do for work?" "You build houses and building," said Madison. "That's right, but do you know how I get the land to build on?" "You buy it, don't you?" said Jennifer. "Sometimes I buy land where families already live, poor families without proper documentation. I use the law to evict them and build my projects." Jennifer looked confused. "But that's legal, isn't it?" "It's legal, but it's not right." "What do you mean, Dad?" asked Madison. Michael took a deep breath and told the whole story. The eviction of the 40 families, the tragedy that followed, his meeting with Tyler, the night tied to the tree, his decision to change his life. When he finished, the silence in the room was deafening. "Dad," said Madison, tears in her eyes, "you really did that to those families?" "Yes, sweetheart, and I'm deeply ashamed of it." "And now you want to use our money to help those people?" asked Jennifer. "It's not our money, Jennifer. It's money I made by destroying those people's lives. I need to give it back." "But Michael, have you lost your mind? If you give houses to everyone who was evicted, we'll end up poor." "Jennifer, have you ever been poor in your life?" "No, but I met a 10-year-old boy who lost his mother because of my greed. That boy lives alone in a mud brick house, survives on odd jobs, and yet he was able to offer me water and forgiveness." "Dad," said Madison, "this boy, what's he like?" Michael smiled for the first time since he'd come home. "He's the most incredible person I've ever met. He's 10 but has wisdom most adults don't. He's generous, brave, and kind." "And he really forgave you?" "He taught me that forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about choosing not to let anger consume us." Madison was thoughtful for a few seconds. "Dad, I want to meet this boy." "Meet him? What do you mean?" "I want to go with you next time you visit. I want to meet Tyler and the other families." Jennifer got upset. "Madison, you're not going anywhere. Michael, you've already made enough mistakes. You're not dragging our daughter into this." "Jennifer," Michael said firmly, "our daughter is already involved. Every piece of clothing she wears, every toy she has, every private lesson we pay for, it was all bought with dirty money." "Dirty money? Michael, you're exaggerating." "I'm not exaggerating. I'm being honest for the first time in years." Madison stood up and hugged Michael. "Dad, I'm proud of you." "Proud? Why?" "Because you're trying to fix your mistakes. That shows you're a good person." "Madison," Jennifer said, "your father is having a crisis. This will pass." "It won't pass, Jennifer. This is the new reality. I'm going to help all the families I hurt, even if it means living with less luxury." "And what if I don't agree?" "Then you'll have to make a choice. Stay with me and support this change, or choose the money." Jennifer stood up, furious. "I can't believe you're giving me an ultimatum." "It's not an ultimatum. It's an explanation. I've changed, Jennifer. I met people who showed me what really matters in life. And what matters according to you? Family, community, helping others, living without guilt." "Very touching, Michael. But save those stories for people living on minimum wage. Jennifer will still have a comfortable life, just not one of excess." Madison chimed in again. "Mom, we don't need all the things we have. We can live well with less." "Madison, you're too young to understand." "I'm not young, Mom. I see girls at my school who have less than me and are happier." Michael smiled at his daughter. "Madison, if you really want to meet Tyler and the other families, you can come with me this weekend." "Really? Really?" But it'll be a different kind of trip. No luxury hotels. We'll stay at a simple inn and eat home-cooked meals. Sounds perfect. Jennifer shook her head and left the room, clearly upset. That weekend, Michael and Madison traveled to the countryside. Along the way, she asked many questions about Tyler and the other families. "Dad, Tyler really isn't angry with you." "He isn't. He's incapable of anger." "How can a child be like that?" "I think some people are born with a bigger heart than most." When they arrived at Miss Susan's grocery store, Tyler was helping stock the shelves. "Mr. Michael!" He ran to hug Michael. "You came back." "I did, Tyler, and I brought someone special to meet you." Tyler looked at Madison curiously. "This is my daughter, Madison. Madison, this is Tyler." "Hi, Tyler," Madison said, a little shy. "Hi, Madison. You're Mr. Michael's daughter. You're so pretty." Madison smiled, charmed by Tyler's sincerity. "Thank you. My dad told me a lot about you." "Told you what?" "That you're the most special person he's ever met." Tyler blushed and looked down. "Ah, Mr. Michael exaggerates." "I'm not exaggerating, Tyler," said Michael. "Madison, do you want to see where Tyler lives?" They went to the small mud brick house where Tyler lived. Madison was shocked by the simplicity of the place. "Tyler, do you live here alone?" "I do, but Miss Susan looks after me." "Aren't you scared at night?" "Sometimes I am, but I just think about my mum and the fear goes away." "Your mum? My dad told me what happened. I'm so sorry." "Thank you. But now she's in a better place." Madison turned to Michael with tears in her eyes. "Dad, how can a child live like this and still be so optimistic?" "That's Tyler's magic, sweetheart." "Tyler," said Madison, "my dad told me you're getting a new house." "I am. Want to see where it'll be?" Tyler took them to the plot they had chosen. Construction had already begun and the foundations were being laid. "It'll have 2 bedrooms, Tyler explained excitedly. "One for me and one for guests. And a real kitchen with a stove and a fridge." "Have you ever had a fridge?" "Before?" Madison asked. "Never. But Mr. Michael said I'll have everything I need." Madison looked around, imagining what it would be like to live there. "Tyler, don't you want to live in the city?" "No, this is my home. I know everyone, and everyone knows me. In the city, I'd feel lost. But there's no mall, no movie, theater, things like that. I don't need those things. I have Miss Susan, Mr. Michael, and now I have you too." "You have me? What do you mean?" "You're my friend now, aren't you?" Madison smiled. "Of course I am, Tyler." Over the next few days, Madison accompanied Michael on visits to the other families. She met Mr. Robert, who was thrilled at the prospect of getting his chicken coop back. She met Mrs. Betty, who was already planning to start making sweets, again once she had a proper kitchen. "Dad," Madison said one evening, "I never imagined people lived like this." "Like what?" "With so little, yet so happy, so close. In our neighborhood, we don't even know our neighbors." "That's true. Sometimes wealth divides people instead of bringing them together." "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you regret making this change?" "I regret not making it sooner. What if Mom doesn't accept this change?" Michael sighed. "I hope she does. But if she doesn't, I'll have to respect her choice." "What about me? Can I choose to stay with you?" "Madison, you're a minor. These decisions are complicated. But if I could choose, I'd choose to stay with you." "Why?" "Because now you're the dad I always wanted." "What do you mean?" "A dad who cares about people beyond just family. A dad who teaches real values." Michael hugged his daughter, moved. "You don't know how happy that makes me." On the last day of the trip, they threw a party at Miss Susan's house to celebrate the start of the home construction. All the families were there, along with some neighbors who had helped over the years. Tyler was beaming, running around introducing Madison to everyone. "This is Madison, Mr. Michael's daughter. She came all the way from Phoenix just to meet me." Madison enjoyed the simplicity of the party. There were no fancy decorations or elaborate dishes, but there was something missing from the parties she attended in Phoenix: genuine warmth. "Mr. Michael," said Raymond, approaching, "I want to thank you on behalf of all the families." "No need to thank me, Raymond. I'm just trying to make up for my mistakes." "You've done more than that. You've given us hope." "The hope was always there. I just helped a little." Mr. Michael, Tyler said, stepping forward. Can I ask you something? Of course, Tyler. Do you want to be my dad? The question caught Michael off guard. What do you mean, Tyler? I mean, not my real dad. I never knew my real dad, but I'd like you to be like a father to me. Michael felt his eyes fill with tears. Tyler, it would be an honor to be like a father to you. And can Madison be like a sister? If she wants to, said Michael, looking at Madison. I do, said Madison, hugging Tyler. I always wanted a little brother. Then now I have a family again, said Tyler, beaming. Miss Susan, who had been listening to the conversation, stepped closer. And can I be like a grandmother? You already are my grandmother, Miss Susan, said Tyler. And now I'm Madison's grandmother too, said Miss Susan, hugging the girl. At that moment, Michael realized he had found something all his money could never buy. A family bound by love, not by interest. When they returned to Phoenix, Jennifer was waiting with a decision made. Michael, I spoke to my lawyer. I want a divorce. Jennifer, don't try to talk me out of it. You've changed too much. You're not the man I married anymore. You're right. I'm not the same man. I'm a better person. Better for who? For these people you barely know? What about your family? Jennifer, you and Madison are my family, but now Tyler and Miss Susan are too. Family isn't just about blood. I can't accept that, Michael. I understand, and I respect your decision. Madison, who had been listening from the stairs, ran down. Mom, you can't divorce Dad now that he's become a better person. Madison, you're too young to understand. I do understand. I understand Dad was wrong before and now he's right. Why can't you see that? Because I married a successful businessman, not a social worker. Mom, I'd rather have a poor and good dad than a rich and bad one. Jennifer looked at her daughter in surprise. Madison, you don't know what you're saying. I do, and if you get divorced, I want to stay with Dad. You're a minor. You don't get to choose. Yes, I do, Mom. At my age, the judge listens. To my opinion, Jennifer realized she was losing not just her husband, but also her daughter. Michael, you turned our daughter against me. I didn't, Jennifer. I just showed her a different world, a world where people care about each other. And you think I don't care about anyone? You care about people who can offer you something in return. Tyler can't give anything but sincere affection. Jennifer fell silent for a few seconds, processing Michael's words. What if I try to understand? What if I come with you on the next trip? Michael was surprised. You'd do that? Maybe, if it means saving our marriage. Jennifer, I'd be so happy if you met these people, especially Tyler. Fine, but if I can't accept this new life of yours, the divorce still stands. Fair enough. A week later, the three of them traveled to the countryside together. Jennifer was visibly uncomfortable with the simplicity of the lodge where they stayed, but tried not to complain. When she met Tyler, she was suspicious at first. To her, that child represented a threat to her way of life. Hi, Mrs. Jennifer, said Tyler shyly. Mr. Michael talked a lot about you. Talked about what? That you're very beautiful and very smart. Oh, thank you. Do you want to see my new house? It's almost ready. Jennifer looked at Michael, who nodded encouragingly. Of course, Tyler. Let's see it. Tyler's house really was almost ready. 2 simple but cozy bedrooms, a small but functional living room, and a kitchen with everything he needed. This will be my room, said Tyler excitedly. And this one is for guests. You can stay here when you visit me. I can. Of course, you're family now. Jennifer was moved by Tyler's simplicity and sincerity. Tyler, can I ask you something? Sure, Mrs. Jennifer. You don't resent my husband for what he did? Tyler thought for a few seconds before answering. At first I was sad when I found out, but then I understood that Mr. Michael was lost. Sometimes people do bad things because they're lost inside. And you really forgave him? I did. My mom always said holding on to anger is bad for the heart. Your mother was a wise woman. She was. You remind me of her. How so? You have sad eyes, just like my mom sometimes did. But you also have kindness in your heart. Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears. It had been years since anyone had spoken to her with such sincerity. Thank you, Tyler. Over the next few days, Jennifer met all the families Michael was helping. She listened to their stories, saw their struggles, but also witnessed their gratitude and joy. On the last night of the trip, she had an honest talk with Michael. "Michael, I need to admit something." "What is it, honey?" "I was wrong. These people, they have something we've lost." "What do they have?" "Simplicity, gratitude, togetherness. Back in Phoenix, we have everything, but we appreciate nothing." "And can you accept this change?" "I'll try, but it'll be hard. I'm used to a different life." "You don't have to give everything up at once. We can make this transition gradually." "How so?" "We can keep our house in Phoenix, but spend some weekends here. We can still give Madison a good education, but also teach her the value of simplicity." "What about your business?" "I'll restructure everything. I'll keep working in construction, but ethically, building affordable homes, helping low-income families have their own houses." "Will it be profitable?" "Less profitable, but more personally fulfilling." Jennifer sighed. "If you're sure this is what you want, I'll support you." "Really?" "Yes, especially after meeting Tyler. That boy has something special." "He really does." "Michael, I want to help too." "How so?" "I want to do something for these families. I'm not sure what yet, but I want to contribute." "Jennifer, that makes me so happy." "And Madison, what about her education?" "Madison can keep going to school in Phoenix during the week and come here on weekends. That way, she learns both worlds." "I think that would be good for her." When they returned to Phoenix, things began to change gradually for the family. Michael restructured his business, focusing on social projects. Jennifer started volunteering. Madison split her time between school in Phoenix and weekends in the village with Tyler. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. 3 months later, all the houses were ready. A big celebration was organized for the key handover. Tyler was especially excited because it would be the first time he'd sleep in his new home. "Mr. Michael," Tyler said, at the party, "can I tell you something?" "Of course, Tyler. You changed my life, but I think I changed yours too." "You really did, Tyler. For the better." "So we changed each other." "That's true. And you know what that means?" "What?" "That our friendship is special. Because the best friendships are the ones where people grow together." Tyler smiled and hugged Michael. "I love you, Mr. Michael. I love you too, Tyler, like you were my own son. And I love you like you were my dad." At that moment, surrounded by people he had once hurt, but who now welcomed him as family, Michael understood the true meaning of redemption. It wasn't just about asking for forgiveness or making amends. It was about becoming a completely different person. A year later, Michael had completely transformed his company. Now he built exclusively affordable housing and social projects. He earned less money, but slept better every night. Jennifer had created an adult literacy program in the region, helping people who never had the opportunity to study. She discovered that teaching was far more rewarding than spending money on expensive clothes. Madison had become a socially engaged young woman, always concerned about the injustices of the world. Her school friends sometimes didn't understand why she preferred spending weekends in the countryside instead of going to the mall, but she didn't care. Tyler was growing up healthy and happy. He did well in school, had made many friends, and his home had become a gathering spot for the local children. Miss Susan continued to care for him as if he were her own grandson. One Sunday afternoon, the family was gathered at Tyler's house. Michael and Jennifer sat on the porch, watching Madison and Tyler play in the yard. "Michael," Jennifer said, "can I admit something?" "Of course. I'm happier now than I was before." "Really?" "Really. Before I had everything I wanted, but I didn't know what truly mattered. And now you do? Now I know that what matters is this family we've built, these people who truly care about us." "I feel the same way." "Michael, do you think if you hadn't found Tyler, you would have ever changed?" Michael thought about the question. "I don't know, maybe not. Tyler was my guardian angel. A 10-year-old guardian angel who lived in a mud brick house. Angels sometimes appear in the most unexpected places." Tyler approached the porch. "What are you talking about?" We were talking about how you changed our lives, Jennifer said. I did? How? You taught us that forgiving is stronger than holding grudges, Michael said. That generosity is more important than wealth, Jennifer added. And that family isn't about blood but about love, Madison finished. Tyler blushed at all the praise. Oh, you're exaggerating. I just did what my mom would have done. Your mom taught you well, Michael said. She did. She always said, we should treat people the way we want to be treated. That's the golden rule, Madison said. Golden rule? It's when you treat others the way you want to be treated. Oh, so my mum knew the golden rule. Everyone laughed at Tyler's innocence. Tyler, Michael said, can I ask you something? Sure. What do you want to be when you grow up? Tyler thought for a few seconds. I want to help other kids who are alone like I was. How so? I want them to know there's always someone who cares about them, even when it seems like there isn't. That's a beautiful dream. Tyler, Jennifer said, and we'll help you make it happen, Michael promised. Really? Of course, we can create a foster home for kids, a place where they feel like family. Tyler's eyes lit up. Like a real family? Like a real family. With people who take care of them with love, with lots of love, and who teach them good things. All the good things in the world. Tyler clapped excitedly. Then let's do it. When can we start? Michael laughed at Tyler's eagerness. Easy there, son. First you need to grow a little more. Study, learn important things. But you promise we'll do it? I promise. And you know when I promise you something, I keep my word. I know. You always keep your promises. 2 years passed. Tyler was now 12 and one of the best students in his school. Madison was 17 and already talking about studying social work in college. Michael had expanded his social projects and now worked in partnership with several non-profit organizations. Your company had become a reference in affordable housing construction. Jennifer had become a well-known educator in the region, and her literacy project had helped hundreds of adults learn to read and write. The family continued spending weekends together in the countryside, and those days had become the most precious of the week for everyone. One afternoon, Raymond showed up at Tyler's house with important news. Mr. Michael, I need to talk to you. Of course, Raymond. What is it? Remember that company interested in buying the Crystal Waters community? Yes, I do. What about it? They made a very good offer, really good. Michael had put the community up for sale a year earlier, planning to use the money to expand his social projects. How much are they offering? 15 million. 15 million? Jennifer nearly choked on the juice she was drinking. That's right. They want to turn the place into a resort. Michael grew thoughtful. Raymond, can I ask your opinion? Of course. What should I do with this money if I sell? You don't know? I have some ideas, but I want to hear your thoughts. Raymond smiled. I think you should build the group home Tyler wants. A big, beautiful house where lots of kids can have a family. Tyler, who had been listening, perked up. That's right, Mr. Michael. We could make a huge house with lots of rooms, a big kitchen, a yard with a swing. And a library, Madison added, and a classroom for anyone who wants to study, Jennifer said. And a garden where the kids can grow their own food, Miss Susan finished, having just arrived in time for the conversation. Michael looked around, seeing his family's excitement for the project. Then it's settled. I'll sell the community and build the group home. Really? Tyler asked, barely containing his joy. Really? And you'll help me plan everything? I really can. Of course. It was your idea after all. Tyler ran to hug Michael. Thank you, Mr. Michael, thank you for believing in my dream. Thank you for changing my life, Tyler. The construction of the group home took a year to complete. It was a beautiful, welcoming building with space for 30 children. There were colorful bedrooms, a large living room, a library, a classroom, a dining hall, an industrial kitchen, a laundry room, and a huge backyard with a playground. Tyler, now 13, oversaw every detail of the construction. He gave input on colors, furniture, and decorations. He wanted everything to be perfect for the children who would live there. Mr. Michael, Tyler said one afternoon, how will we choose which kids get to live here? We'll work with the responsible agencies. They know which children need help the most and who'll take care of them. We'll hire specialists, psychologists, social workers, educators. And can we visit them? Of course. In fact, you'll be like a big brother to all of them. A big brother? Tyler liked the idea. That's right. You can teach them everything you've learned about overcoming hardship and forgiveness. I'll teach them. I'll tell them how you changed my life, and I'll tell them how you changed mine. The group home's opening was an emotional event. Hundreds of people attended, including local officials, representatives from social organizations, and all the families Michael had helped. Tyler was beaming, wearing his best clothes with a smile that wouldn't fade. Everyone, Michael said in his opening speech, this home exists because of a special boy. A boy who taught me that it's possible to forgive the unforgivable, and that generosity is more valuable than any wealth. Everyone applauded, and Tyler flushed with emotion. Tyler, would you like to say something? Michael asked. Tyler stepped up to the microphone, nervous. I want to say that this home is so no child ever feels alone in the world, because there's always someone who cares, even when we think there isn't. The audience erupted in applause. Tyler had managed to sum up the purpose of the entire initiative in just 2 sentences. The first children arrived a week later. There were 15 in all, ranging from 5 to 15 years old. Each had a difficult past, but every one of them had hope in their eyes. Tyler truly became the big brother Michael had envisioned. He helped the younger kids with homework, comforted those who were sad, and organized games in the backyard. Tyler, Madison said during a visit, it's like you were born for this. I think my mom prepared me for it. She always said we have to take care of those in need. Your mom would be proud of you. I think she's watching from heaven, and I think she's happy. One day, one of the children in the home, an 8-year-old girl named Emma, approached Tyler. Tyler, can I ask you something? Of course, Em, what is it? Why are you so nice to us? Tyler smiled. Because when I was little, just like you, I needed help too, and good people helped me. And now you help us? That's right. It's like a chain of kindness. Chain of kindness? It's when someone does something good for you, and then you do something good for someone else, and that person does something good for another, and so on. So when I grow up, I can help other kids too. If you want to, you can. I do, just like you. Tyler hugged Emma, moved. Then the chain of kindness will keep going. 5 years passed. Tyler was now 18 and had just graduated high school. Madison was in college studying social work, just as she'd planned. The foster home was a success, and dozens of children had already passed through, either being adopted or reunited with their families. Michael and Jennifer were now 50 and felt more fulfilled than ever. Their businesses thrived, their social projects flourished, and their family was close and happy. One Sunday afternoon, as they had for years, they all gathered at Tyler's original home, which he kept as a personal refuge. Tyler, Michael said, have you thought about what you want to study in college? Yeah, I want to study psychology. Psychology? Why? Because I want to understand better how to help kids who've been through hard times. I want to be even, better at what I do. That's a perfect choice, Jennifer said. And you'll support me? Always, son, Michael said. In whatever you want to do. Thank you. You're the best family I could have asked for. You're also the best son we could have asked for, Jennifer said. Tyler smiled, but then grew serious. Can I tell you something? Of course, Madison said. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Mr. Michael hadn't been tied to that tree. What do you mean? Michael asked. Would you have really changed? Would we have ever met? Michael thought about the question. I don't know, Tyler. Maybe not. Maybe I'd have stayed a bad person. Then it was good those men did that to you. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Mr. Michael, can I say something I've never said before? Of course. When I saw you tied to that tree, I felt like I had to help. It wasn't just kindness, it was like a voice inside me said it was important. What kind of voice? I can't explain it. But I felt that if I helped you, good things would happen. Not just for you, but for so many people. And you were. Right, Madison said. Look at all the good that came from that moment. It's true, Jennifer said. Dozens of families have been helped. Hundreds of children have passed through the shelter home. You've transformed so many lives, Tyler. It wasn't just me, it was all of us together. Mr. Michael changed. Miss Jennifer started helping others. Madison chose a career to help. People. Everyone changed. That's true, said Michael. You were like a stone thrown into a lake. The ripples spread out and touched so many lives. That's such a beautiful thing to say. It's the simple truth. Tyler fell silent for a few seconds, watching the sunset. You know what I love most about this whole story? What? They all asked together. Seeing that people can change, that it's never too late to be a better person. That's the greatest lesson of all, said Michael. And you know what my biggest dream is now? Tyler continued. What? That others see our story and feel inspired to change too. That they see it's possible to forgive, to start over, to build something good from something bad. That's a beautiful dream, Tyler, said Jennifer. And realistic, added Madison. Our story has already inspired so many people here in the region. Imagine if it could inspire people all over the world, Tyler said dreamily. Maybe one day it will, said Michael. You really think so? I do. Stories of transformation always touch people's hearts. At that moment, looking at his united and happy family, Michael had a clear vision of how his life had completely changed. 10 years earlier, he'd been tied to a tree, desperate and alone. Now he was surrounded by people who truly loved him, not for his money, but for who he'd become. Tyler, Michael said, there's something I've never properly thanked you for. What, Mr. Michael? For saving me. I saved you how? You saved me from myself, from staying a person who hurt others. From living an empty life even though I had everything. But you saved me too. How? You gave me a family. You gave me opportunities. You gave me the chance to help others. So we saved each other, said Michael. That's right. And you know what that proves? What? That when people truly help each other, everyone wins. You're very wise, Tyler. I learned from all of you and from my mother and from life. The sun had fully set and stars began to appear in the sky. The family stayed there, on the porch of Tyler's first house, talking and planning the future. What do you all think about doing this every Sunday? Tyler suggested. Gathering here to talk and plan ways to help more people? We love the idea, said Jennifer. It could be our family tradition, said Madison. Our weekly kindness meeting, Michael joked. Everyone laughed and Tyler felt complete. He had a family who loved him, a purpose in life, and the certainty that his mother would be proud of the person he'd become. You know what I'm most sure of in my life, Tyler said. What? They all asked. That love always wins over hate, kindness always wins over cruelty, and forgiveness always wins over revenge. How can you be so sure? Asked Madison. Because I've lived it. Mr. Michael could have kept hating me for being the son of one of the families he evicted. I could have kept hating him for what he did to my family. But we chose love and look where it led. To a beautiful family, said Jennifer. To so many people helped, said Madison. To a life with purpose, said Michael. And it's going to lead to even more good things, Tyler added. That night, as everyone returned to their homes, they carried the same certainty in their hearts. They'd found the true meaning of life. It wasn't in money, power, or social status. It was in love, compassion, the ability to forgive, and the willingness to help others. Tyler, alone in his house, looked out the window at the stars and whispered, "Thank you, Mom, for teaching me to be a good person. Thank you for showing me that life always offers new chances to those willing to change." On the other side of town, Michael also gazed at the stars and thought, "Thank you, Tyler, for giving me water when I was thirsty. But most of all, thank you for giving me hope when I was lost." And in her home, Jennifer reflected on how her life had gained meaning. "Thank you for showing me that true wealth isn't measured in money, but in how many lives we can touch in a positive way." Meanwhile, Madison, in her room, wrote in her diary, "Today I understood that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. And I choose this family every day. I choose Tyler as my brother. I choose the fight for social justice. I choose to be part of this unbroken chain of kindness." 2 years later, Tyler was in college studying psychology. and was already recognized as one of the most dedicated students. His thesis would focus on resilience in children facing social vulnerability. Michael had expanded his projects and now worked in 3 different states. His company was a national leader in affordable housing and social programs. Jennifer had written a book about her experience teaching adults to read, which became a reference in education. Madison was in her final year of social work and had already decided to pursue a master's in public policy for children and teens. The shelter home had become a model for other cities, and several similar homes had opened based on their experience. One Sunday afternoon, as was tradition, the family gathered at Tyler's original home. But this time there was a special visitor, a journalist who wanted to write a story about their project. "Mr. Tyler," the journalist said, "how did all this begin?" Tyler looked at Michael and smiled. "It started with a glass of water offered at the right time to the right person." "How so?" 10 years ago, I found a man tied to a tree. He was thirsty, so I gave him water. I didn't know it then, but that man was responsible for my family losing our home. And you still helped him?" "Yes, because my mother taught me that we help those in need, no matter who they are." What happened next? Michael joined the conversation. "Then I realized the harm I'd caused, and I decided to spend the rest of my life making amends." "Did it work?" "It worked better than we imagined," Jennifer said. "It transformed our family and hundreds of other lives." "Miss Jennifer, did you support this change from the start?" "No," Jennifer laughed. "At first I thought my husband had lost his mind, but then I understood he'd found his true calling." "And you, Madison? What was it like seeing your father change so much?" "It was the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. Watching someone you love become a better person every day." The journalist turned back to Tyler. "Tyler, when did you realize your actions that day had changed everything?" Tyler thought for a moment. "I think it was when I saw the first family receive the keys to their new home. That's when I understood small gestures can have enormous consequences." What's your message to those reading this interview? That it's never too late to change, that forgiving frees the one who forgives more than the one who's forgiven, and that each of us has the power to start a chain of kindness that can transform the world. "Thank you for sharing this story," the journalist said, moved. "Thank you for wanting to tell it," Michael replied. "If our story inspires even one person to be better, it was worth it." After the journalist left, the family stayed talking about the interview. "Tyler," said Madison, "do you really think our story can inspire others?" "I'm sure it can, because it shows that change is possible, forgiveness is possible, that something beautiful can be built from something painful." "And you don't regret offering water to Dad that day?" "Never. It was the best decision of my life, even knowing he had destroyed your family's life." "Madison, if I hadn't offered your father water, he would have stayed a bad person. I would have kept living alone. You all would have kept living without purpose. Hundreds of children wouldn't have had the chance to live in a family." "When you put it like that, it really seems like everything happened for a reason," said Jennifer. "I believe it did," said Tyler. "I believe some things are meant to happen so the right people can find each other and do good together." "That's a beautiful way to see life," said Michael. "It's the only way that makes sense to me." That night before bed, Tyler wrote in his personal journal, "Today I told our story to a journalist. I hope when people read it, they understand that we all have the power to change the world. It doesn't have to be something big or complicated. Sometimes it's just offering a glass of water to someone who's thirsty. Sometimes it's forgiving those who hurt us. Sometimes it's choosing love where others would choose hate. My mother always said we plant today what we'll harvest tomorrow. 10 years ago, I planted compassion when I offered water to Mr. Michael. Today, I'm harvesting a beautiful family, a purposeful life, and the chance to help others. If I could talk to my mother today, I'd say, 'Mom, your teachings have blossomed, you can be proud. I turn pain into love, anger into forgiveness, tragedy into hope.' And if I could speak to all the children who will one day pass through our foster home, I'd say, 'You're not alone. There is love in this world. There is hope. There's a chance for a better future. And you have the power to build that future with your own hands.' Tomorrow is Monday, and I'll keep studying to be the best psychologist I can be. I'll keep helping children who need care and guidance. I'll keep being part of this beautiful family I chose, and that chose me back. And who knows, maybe someday, one of these children I'm helping now will find me tied to a metaphorical tree of life and offer me a glass of kindness. And so the chain continues endlessly, changing the world one person at a time. 10 years had passed since Tyler wrote those words. Now, at 28, he was a respected child psychologist. He had married an educational therapist named Olivia, whom he met at a conference on children's rights. Together, they ran 3 foster homes in different cities. Michael, now 60, had retired from traditional business and dedicated himself fully to social projects. He was considered one of the country's leading philanthropists, but always made sure to credit everything to the boy who offered him water on a hot desert afternoon. Jennifer, also 60, had become one of the nation's top adult education specialists. Her literacy method was used in hundreds of schools and non-profits. Madison, now 30, held a master's in public policy and worked for the state government, developing programs for at-risk children. She was married to a social worker, and they had 2 young children. The original foster home had grown into an educational complex that not only served orphaned children, but also offered vocational training for local youth, daycare for working mothers, and a community center for seniors. On a Sunday morning, the eve of the 10th anniversary of the first home's inauguration, Tyler was on the porch of his original house, which he kept as an office and a place for reflection. Olivia stood beside him, 6 months pregnant with the couple's first child. "Tyler," Olivia said, "have you thought of a name for our baby yet?" "Yes. If it's a boy, I want to name him Michael, in honor of the man who became like a father to me. If it's a girl, I want to name her Hope, after my mother. Those are beautiful names and full of meaning. That's right. I want our child to grow up knowing how important it is to honor those who taught us valuable lessons. And what story will you tell them about how you met Mr. Michael?" Tyler smiled. "The same story I told the reporter 10 years ago. The story of how a glass of water changed the world. Do you really believe it changed the world? It changed my world. It changed Mr. Michael's world and his family's. It changed the lives of hundreds of children who've passed through our homes. And if each of those people went on to change other lives, then yes, we changed the world." Just then, a car pulled up in front of the house. It was Michael, Jennifer, and Madison arriving for their traditional Sunday lunch. "Look who's here," Tyler said, waving at them. Madison was the first to run up the porch steps, followed by her parents. "Good morning, family," Michael said, hugging Tyler. "Good morning, Dad," Tyler replied, as he always did. "How's our favorite daughter-in-law?" Jennifer asked, kissing Olivia's forehead. "Good, thank you. The baby's been kicking a lot today." "Just excited to meet Grandpa and Grandma," Michael joked. "And the youngest uncle too," Madison added. Tyler laughed. "You're all going to spoil this child before they're even born." "That's what grandparents and uncles are for," Jennifer said. They all settled on the porch, as they had for years. The view was always the same. The land where Tyler's little mud brick house once stood, now transformed into a garden with a plaque honoring Hope. In the distance, the educational complex they had built together. "Tyler," Michael said, "did you hear the project was approved?" "What project?" "The new shelter home in San Diego." "Really?" Tyler's face lit up. "Really? And we already have donated land and business owners willing to fund the construction." "That's wonderful. How many children will it serve?" 50 at first, but with room to expand." "And when does construction start?" "Next month, and guess who was chosen to coordinate the psychological program?" Tyler's eyes widened in surprise. "No, you're not serious." "I am. The Federal University in San Diego invited you to oversee all the psychological care for the project. But that's incredible." Olivia squeezed her husband's hand, emotional. "Tyler, you deserve this. All the work you've done, all the dedication. It's not just my doing, it's all of ours, this family we built together." "That's true," Madison said. "But you were the spark that started it all. If it weren't for your kindness that day, if it weren't for Mr. Michael's courage to change," Tyler interrupted. If it weren't for Jennifer's wisdom in accepting that change, Michael continued. If it weren't for Madison's generosity in embracing our cause, Jennifer added. You know what this proves? Tyler asked. What? They all said together. That the best things in life happen when the right people come together and decide to work for the common good. That's a beautiful lesson, Olivia said. And it's one we'll pass on to our children and grandchildren, Madison said. Speaking of grandchildren, Jennifer said, when this baby is born, they'll be the family's first official grandchild. Official? Tyler asked. Well, all the children from the shelters feel like grandchildren to us, but this one will be the first. By blood. No, Jennifer, Tyler corrected gently. This will be the first grandchild born into the family, but I'm also your son by heart. Michael was moved by Tyler's words. It's true, son. You are our son by heart and soul. And this baby will grow up hearing our family stories, said Olivia. They'll learn from the very beginning about the importance of kindness and forgiveness. And when they grow up, they'll carry on our chain of kindness, added Tyler. That afternoon, as they ate lunch on the porch, each of them reflected on the journey they had taken together. 10 years earlier, they had been strangers brought together by tragedy. Now they were a family united by love and a shared purpose. You know what I realized today? Tyler said after a long silence. What? Everyone asked. Our story doesn't have an ending. It'll live on through the children we've helped, through the kids we'll have, through everyone we inspire. That's true, Michael agreed. Every child who passes through our homes takes a piece of this story with them. And one day they'll tell this story to their own children, said Jennifer. And that's how our chain of kindness becomes immortal, Madison finished. Tyler looked at Olivia and placed his hand on her belly. Little one, you haven't even been born yet, but you already have an important mission. To carry on a story of love that began with a glass of water offered at just the right moment. And you're lucky to be born into a family that understands the true meaning of the word family, Olivia said. Family isn't about blood, Tyler repeated, echoing the phrase that had become their motto. It's about choice, Michael continued. It's about love, Jennifer added. It's about forgiveness, Madison said. And it's about never giving up on each other, Olivia finished. The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The family stayed there on the porch of Tyler's first home, planning the future and giving thanks for the past. Tyler, Michael said after a while, can I confess something? Of course, Dad. Sometimes I still can't believe all of this happened. It feels like a dream. Why? Because 10 years ago I was a lost man, bitter and empty inside. And now I have a beautiful family, a purpose in life, and the certainty that I'm leaving the world a little better. Dad, you always had kindness in your heart. You just needed someone to show it to you. And you, well, that's someone, Tyler. And you all were the ones who showed me that family is so much more than blood. And now, Jennifer said, we'll keep being that someone for each other forever. Forever, Madison repeated. Forever, Olivia confirmed. Forever, Tyler sealed. Forever, Michael finished. And there, on that simple porch of a simple home in rural Arizona, 5 people whom fate had improbably brought together renewed their commitment to keep spreading kindness in the world. Because they had learned that love always defeats hatred, generosity always defeats selfishness, and forgiveness always defeats revenge. And as the stars began to appear in the sky, each of them looked up and gave thanks for the second chance life had given them, the chance to be better people, to build something beautiful together, and to prove that small gestures can have extraordinary consequences. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of Tyler and Michael's story. Do you believe in the transformative power of forgiveness? If you have a story of overcoming or reconciliation, share it with us in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts on how small acts can change lives. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories like this one.